Welcome guys. Arthur Morgan is a protagonist Red Dead Redemption 2 and one of the most popular characters in gaming history, and knowing the facts of him is not free of grace. Unlike many characters from the Red Dead Redemption world, Arthur has not been referenced or mentioned in any game of the series, apart from RDR2. His character was specially created for the second episode to give the gamers a better insight into Van der Linde's gang, as well as the characters who fell in love with them in the first edition. That way, there's still a lot that fans don't know about this lovely cowboy. That's why we've compiled a list of 10 facts you didn't know about this Western outlaw. Not only has he lived a life full of crime and adventure, he has also experienced a lot of drama and tragedy. You'll discover many of the tips on this list by playing the game and paying close attention to detail. During a side mission where you should help Charles Chatenay, you will be asked to go to a gallery in Saint Denis. There you can look at the images on the gallery walls and you might be surprised to see a familiar face after a little bit of accuracy. As if you had done the Arcadia for Amateurs mission, he would find a portrait of Arthur Morgan. This image can be found after Albert Mason was rescued from the wolves as Albert takes pictures of Arthur before the attack. It is easy to imagine that Arthur had always lived as an outlaw, free and irresponsible, but he had his own family at some point while he was always part of his group. As a young man, Arthur met a waitress named Eliza, and after a while, the waitress had a son, Isaac, from Arthur. Eliza was aware of Arthur's criminal past but continued to accept his support. In fact, Arthur went to his family every few months and stayed with them for several days. However, one day when Arthur returned to his son's house, he found two crosses outside. He later learned that Eliza and their 10-year-old son, Isaac, had been killed by burglars. The heartbreak of this tragedy may explain why Arthur seems despondent and cold at first glance. In the game, you will encounter different female characters who defend women's suffrage. While many other characters seem annoyed by their presence, Arthur sympathizes with their purpose in one scene. While Arthur is in Rhodes and helps two mistresses from rival families, Beau Gray and Penelope Braithwaite, Beau asks Arthur to protect Penelope while attending a women's rally because she entered the rally against Beau's will. Furthermore, Arthur proves his support for women's suffrage by driving a wagon containing protesters for women's suffrage. Early in the game, Andrew Milton reveals that Arthur has a $5,000 bounty of his head. Arthur jokingly has to turn himself in to critique it, but it may have become even more so at the end of the game, as this encounter with Andrew Milton happens before all the robberies, murders and other misdeeds during the game. Because of Pinkerton's office's skill in finding Van der Linde gang members, it should be expected that over time, Arthur's murder award has been much more than $5,000. Looking at Arthur's belongings in the camp, you can find a picture of his father. What you'll probably notice after carefully looking at the picture is that the hat in the photo is the hat Arthur wears. This is because Arthur keeps his hat on after his father was killed. Arthur's father was an outlaw and Arthur was present at the moment of his death. After his father's death, Arthur wears his hat to give it to John Marston at the end of the game. Arthur's mother died when he was young, and as stated, he witnessed his father killed when he was 11. Since dating Dutch, Arthur became a member of his gang and was a loyal friend of his. Of course, this has changed with the killing of gang members and Dutch starting to become reckless. Arthur spent most of his life with the Van der Linde gang, but ultimately failed to get a proper farewell to his loyalty from the gang's leader. In their first experience of RDR2, the players may not have noticed that Arthur had been infected with tuberculosis through Thomas Downs. In fact, during the mission that player has to receive money from Thomas, after the altercation, Thomas coughs on Arthur and transmits the tuberculosis virus to him. Later in the game, it was revealed that the TB virus had brought down Thomas Downs earlier because of the beating he received from Arthur. So maybe if Arthur had not been on a mission to get Thomas's debt, he would have lived longer. Although Arthur may seem to have no real love, the character's story is written in a way that has an old love and eventually comes face to face with him. In fact, as a teenager, Arthur met Mary Gillis and fell madly in love with her. However, Mary came from an upstairs family that would not confirm Arthur's criminal life and their relationship. In this way, the two were eventually pressured to end their relationship. The following game reveals that Mary Gillis marries someone else, but reconnects with Arthur after being widowed and when her brother gets into trouble. After Arthur's death, player takes on the role of John Marston. By finding characters like Rainsfall or two Civil War veterans, it's likely to be pointed out to Arthur. Rainsfall mentions Arthur by name, while the two aforementioned soldiers also mention him. Also, if you've done the Widow of Willard's Rest mission in Arthur's role, with John Marston you can go back to the cabin and tell Widow that Arthur is dead. This makes it more important for women to provide John with supplies and a place to stay, because, in Widow's own words, he couldn't survive without Arthur's help. Despite Arthur committing unspeakable acts in the game, that doesn't always mean he thinks violence or murder is acceptable. Instead, it has become clear that he sees it as more of a trade deal. In his view, harassment of others should be done only if it is a means of achieving the goal. Despite his ability to commit major acts of violence, Arthur has his own moral laws and does not believe in unnecessary and enjoyable murder, especially if it endangers himself or those he cares about. Moreover, Dutch had led Arthur to believe that revenge was a fruitless endeavor. Arthur seems to strongly believe that violence should be cold, necessary and emotionless rather than unreasonable.